So Fragaria Tristan, this is one that's been around for a while. This is basically an ornamental strawberry. As you can see, it does get strawberries on it. Main claim to fame is going to be the flowers. It's got that rosy red color. This will continuously bloom throughout the course of the season, as well as provide strawberries. Uh, Strawberries are edible. They're not quite as good as something that you would grow in your own garden, but they are relatively sweet. So it gives you a multitude of things. You can put these in hanging baskets or any type of a planter and have it right on the patio and just reach out and pick the fruit. Strawberries grow just about anywhere, but they do need to be well drained. So if they're in an area where it's not well drained, over time they will eventually no longer be there. But most strawberries are pretty forgiving plants. They do list this, if you look at the size, I think it says 24 inches there. Strawberries, for anyone doesn't know it, if you plant it in the ground, they do put out runners. The runners will put down plants, roots, and they will spread that way. So keep that in mind. This is an introduction, I believe, from Walters. So it's got a Zone 4 to Zone 8 classification for hardiness. Wanted to talk a little bit about some arborescens types. Some of these, like Invincible Ruby, we've had it a couple years. Many of that we've had a year. They're arborescens. As you can see in the picture, we do trim them all the way down to the ground. This gives you a nice flush of growth coming out in the spring. They will have a darker red flower. This is probably the darker reds of all the arborescent red ones that we have. 3 to 4 foot high, 2 to 5 foot wide. It's listed as Zone 3 to 8. This is a proven winter plant. It does present itself well when it's in flower. Nice stiff full stems as far as upright, and you can see it's got a darker green leaf. So this has been a pretty good plant for us. Like I said, it is the best dark red one that we have. Next one up is Mini Mavette. This is a little bit lighter, a little more, I guess, of a violet cast to it. So it's similar to Ruby as far as plant structure. It's not quite as dark a green of foliage. This one is more of a dwarf. It's going to be more in that 2 to 3 foot classification. There again, all these plants that Spring Meadows bred for, they're really looking at how upright these plants stay. For anyone that's not aware of the old arborescens, typically when you got that flower head on there, it'd split open, especially after a good hard rain. Both of these plants do rebloom. You can speed up the reblooming process by trimming them, dedicating them similar to a perennial. Recommendation, once it is in the landscape, is to trim them down to about a third of their height. That way to give you a nice fuller plant. And it will also help keep them standing more upright. As far as soil conditions, you really need to put them in a well-drained area. They do need to have a fair amount of moisture throughout the season, but they do also need to be well-drained. Isotoma, common name is Blue Star Creeper. This is a plant that we picked up for nooks and crannies. So you can see the sizing listed. It's both in nooks. We had some left over last year, so they're 19 centimeters. As you can see, the picture of the 19 centimeter pot versus what's in the landscape is pretty much identical. It's a very short plant, 3 to 6 inches high. It does spread 12 inches or better. You can walk on this plant. It does come back from it. Has a light blue flower. The heaviest flowering is obviously early spring, and then it will sporadically flower throughout the course of the summer. Just a good little ground cover, nice full color, that light blue. You can see how they planted it during the one planting. Threw some lacantharum in. We seem to have a pretty good supply of those. Victorian Secret's the first one up here. This is more of a double. This is newer breeding. A lot of the newer breeding, they're trying to get away from the taller plants. So you can see this is a 18-inch high by 18-inch wide plant. There again, it's nice and double. It does hold up well. It does not split open. It is one of the more compact ones that we have, and it's also an improvement on snowcap. That's what it was initially set out to do. This plant will be a little bigger than Snow Lady, but it is nice and dwarf, nice and short. You can see it presents itself well in color, a lot of flower buds there. And this will bloom June to August. Whoops a Daisy is another one that we picked up on. This is another shorter variety, a nice full flower. I've never seen one quite as full as the picture, but it does do a good job. There again, what we're looking at with these plants, we're trying to go into for that shorter plant. So we have some with a double, and then this one really has about 2 rows of petals, so it's a little better than a single. With all the leucanthemums, you do need to keep them in a well-drained area. You do need to provide them with a fair amount of moisture throughout the summer. The one thing to watch for this plant, especially on a lot, is if it does look like it's wilting, make sure you check the pot because it's very easy for it to be overwatered. Once it's overwatered, it leads to crown rot and some root diseases, and they will literally fade away and die. With the crown rot, it does take them off, and there's been a few times where we've thought they were dry, and actually when you check the plant, they're too wet. So keep that in mind when you're talking with your customers, especially in the heat of the summer. I believe the next one's Becky, which is an old standby. This one's been around for quite a few years. It's a very tough plant. Same thing applies to all the leucanthemums as far as the moisture in the summer. This is the one that we found that on first. This one's a little bit taller. It's going to get in that 3-foot range, both height and width. If you give it ideal growing conditions, it will probably grow a little better than that, and then it will also want to split open. So keep that in mind with this plant. This is more of a single. You can see the presentation on the pictures to the right. It does a good job in the landscape, and it's good for like an intermediate plant in the perennial planting. One of the other plants, this is actually a 2020 crop. We ended up moving it forward. You can see on the tristis here, the Willoway picture on the left. These are really nice full plants. Guys did an excellent job of trimming them. So we really did a good job of growing them in the last couple of years. So we're trying to get these plants out at this size. We don't want to grow them for another year. They'll be way too big. For anyone that isn't aware of how fast a willow grows, you could actually probably take that plant off and stick it in the ground. As long as it's got enough moisture, it will re-root and keep growing. These plants will probably grow 3 to 4 foot a year if you give them ideal conditions. The other thing to keep in mind when you're planting them out in the yard or wherever, if you've got drain tiles or anything along that line, you do not want a willow tree next to that. It will find that drain tile and it will fill it up with roots. So it's one of the things that willows are known for. Tristis is also called golden weeping willow. In the spring, the flowers are catkins that come on it have a yellowish green cast, so you get that color in the spring. The new growth also has a yellow cast to it on the stems, and then in the fall it also will have a yellow flower or leaf to it. They are relatively fast-growing plants. You can see here 50 to 70 feet high and wide, so if this is a big tree, you don't want to put it in a tight, confined area. Had David take some pictures. There's a couple in here. Deutzia, this is Nico. Still a good quantity of those left. As you can see, these are just getting ready to flower. So we've got probably a couple good weeks of shelf life on these, but these are really nice plants. They just need to concentrate on getting these down the road. Same thing will be with the cherry, Yuki cherries, blossom, same thing. They're getting real close to flower. These might be a little bit further out as far as bud set, but keep this in mind going forward. Usually by this time of year, these plants are bloomed out. So this year we've been able to hold them back a little better with the weather being more average and not having the 80-degree day spikes that we've been seeing. This is just another picture of the block of the dianthus that we talked about last week. This is Paint the Town Fuchsia. Took a couple pictures of hibiscus. Will's done a good job with the PGRs of keeping them short. We keep shipping through these things. This is just a reminder they're still out there. Guys keep picking through them. I know every time I drive by, it seems like there's less, but that's a good thing. Mini Wavettes, we put on this week. This is what you're looking at. They have pulled plants similar to what's on here. This is a shorter plant, like we talked about earlier with the arborescent types. You can see where we trimmed these all down. We really want this fresh new growth coming up. These are a little ways out as far as flower goes, but they're nice compact plants to get on the lot and get them sold. This would be the Invincible Spirit, just rolled on a couple weeks ago. I would say about 2.5 weeks ago, these would have been the same size as the mini Mauvettes. Mauvettes won't grow quite this fast or be quite this big just due to the fact that it's a dwarf, but it gives you an idea how fast arborescens will grow. And these are the rubies. Still good shelf life left on the city lines, the other 2-gallon hydrangeas before us. You can see the flowers are getting bigger. There are holes in the houses, but there's still a good supply of plants there. So we just need to keep picking away at this and getting these out of here. Ideally, for the customer as well as for us, this week would be the ideal week to see these go away. That way, as the color starts to show on these flower buds, they'll be sitting on the lots. And this is just a picture of the revolutions. And this is just a picture of the lilies. This is the Asiatic types. We did release those. We see them disappearing, but this just to give you an idea of where they're at. Next week's forecast, I would say it would hold good for the flowers, but if it does start to get up in the 70s and 80s, that will push these out pretty fast. Did a pretty good job of going through the 3B greenhouse on the roses. I wanted David to put a picture, too, of what S4 looks like. Recall these are the taller houses right behind the dock. These roses are premium, nice green bud, ready to go. David has rolled some of the varieties in there. You can see we're pulling out of it, but this is just to give you an idea what these look like. The plant material outside is probably upwards of a week behind this. So everything sequentially is falling into place with the roses. The other sidebar note is we did start doing split trims this week. So those will be about 4 to 5 weeks out. So we should be in good shape as far as keeping a fresh supply of roses there for you.
All right. Let's see. So we are rolling into some new crops. So we were pretty thin on 2-gallon green velvets. We have the next crop of velvets. You can see here they kind of puffed out on the interiors. So this is the 2020 crop, actually. And we felt we could go ahead and put about 1,000 on. Cheryl's just showing you one bed. What do we got, Cheryl? Like close to 4,000 or so?
Yeah, close to 4,000.
So we figure we could put about 1,000 on right now, and they're really flushing hard. You can see the one photo there. We're gonna cherry high out of this group here, get you some real nice stuff out of there. So next, looks like quick ships in there. So just wanted to, Cheryl snapped a few photos this morning. The quick ship, you can see here, we untied them. They're spaced out over in the B&B holding area. They are listed in the inventory. Cheryl, are those on the B&B or the container?
Container side.
So it's on the container inventory. So that's where you'll see these. They're already dug out of the ground. So you see some cupersinas, some hemlocks. There's a few other things over there. We have a couple of dogwoods. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through the whole thing, but it's listed as an HQ code. So it's already out of the ground, ready to go. Just put the order in, boom, we'll throw it on a soft side or over here on our dock. It'll process through. You can slip it right in with a can load, and we'll ship it right out. So next, Franklin's Gem. We really like this plant. I really like it. It's a very low maintenance plant. It doesn't require a lot of trimming, which is kind of nice. It's great in the landscape. It's a lighter color green, so it's a little unusual, and you can tell from the photo there, but it's a really low mounding boxwood. It has good resistance to Voluatilla blight and boxwood blight as well. So, you know, it doesn't have a lot of issues as far as blight issues in the landscape. So it's a nice, tough little dude. Is mops. This here is a 2-gallon, believe it or not. Excellent sizing on the 2 gallons. You can see here we're 15-inch. You know, this is going to stack up against anybody's 3 out there. Is burning bush. We have 24 to 30 inch here. Some really nice, you can see here, nice shape, good flush going on right now. Burning bush is one of the first deciduous really to push out and flush hard. Great rounded shape. Nice shaped plants out there in the nursery. Good size going on. We have 3,000 of these available. You know, we're pushing that 30 inch mark on this crop here. And we just wanted to show them to you. We've looked at these off and on through the spring, but just to show you how well they're progressing along here. So keep those in mind.